Hey, what's up, guys? Um, this is going to be the deck that I'm going to be using for the Fusion Festival, and basically grind through the most of the festival using this particular deck. Now, you may have seen this deck before. It's the sort of like the Dogmatica, um, Shaddoll, Invoked sort of fusion deck. But yeah, so since most of the Dogmatica stuff has been banned from this particular Fusion Festival, I cut them out, and now I'm trying a build where it's similar to the Shaddoll Invoke deck, but it's gonna have a little bit more Shaddolls in the deck to kind of make up that missing part of the deck where we're missing the invoked stuff, or sorry, not the invoked stuff. We're missing the Dogmatica stuff. Instead, we're replacing that with a couple of different or two different engines, kind of. They're kind of like mini engines. So one is going to be the Destiny Fusion engine, just a real good, you know, you have to hard draw into Destiny Fusion in order to use it. So you are playing a couple of bricks. You are playing two cards that don't really do anything at all for your deck. But I think the Destiny Hero Destroyer is good enough to play. It will win you games if you can just have him stick on the board. So he's reason enough to play the deck or to play the package, I think. So he's pretty good. And the last engine we're gonna be playing is the Magistus package. It's a really small engine. You don't really need to commit too much to it. Mainly, it does one of two things here. It acts as your light source. We're not really playing that many lights in the deck, and it acts as your secondary fusion fodder. Because when you know, or secondary invoke Alistair. So when you summon her, you're able to search off the invocation, this invocation, and this invocation's okay. It's not that great, not that real, not that useful, but it's a free, fusion card per se. So she's there to do that, and she's also your only light source in the deck outside of Nibiru. You could play Effect Veiler if you like. I think Effect Veiler might be a little bit better in the deck. I don't have Effect Veiler. I've never crafted them, so unfortunately I don't have Effect Veiler. I have one Nibiru, that's why I'm playing one Nibiru. Um, and yeah, so the deck is pretty simple. We're playing a mix of different types of Shaddolls. Um, I think I'm not playing Skomata because you don't really need to dump too much with Skomata. I mean, you could have a Skomata in the decks here somewhere, dump a fusion, or dump anything you need. But I don't think I found it that I needed to do that as much. Um, but Skomata works well with Schism if that's gonna be what you want to do. But the rest of the Shaddolls that we have in here, they're just one ofs. They're mainly for utility. Um, what you're using Falco for is just a free body on the board when you dump him. Same with Windy. If you dump Windy, you can get any of the Shadow monsters out on the board for free. I forget which her flip summon is. Her flip summon is blah blah blah. Uh, yeah. So the flip summon doesn't really come off that often. You're gonna use it to usually dump with it, and then special summon Shadow monster face down. Yeah. So she's just there for utility. Same with Dragon, utility to pop the back row, and then Beast to draw a card, and then Aerial to hit someone's graveyard, which kind of is relevant. Her flip effects, you don't really get that off, so it's whatever. So they're all just utility. You can play any combination of Shaddolls you like. I think these five are probably going to be your most versatile. Uh, Skomal only being the only other one that I would maybe consider. But outside of that, those are Shadow monsters. You don't need that many. Um, the bulk of the strategy here is to either try to um, activate Shadow Fusion and dump your light types to the graveyard, and then use Invocation to then fuse. So you generally will have like a construct on the board plus a macabre on the board. Now, Alistair by himself is fairly weak. Like you summon Alistair, there's not much you can really do. Oftentimes you can go into a dark, you can go into Kaliga to kind of stall out the game. How I found him how I use him lately is just kind of just use him as a backup, kind of like an honest, a backup window to back up, whatever else I need to stick on the board. And then if I can fuse with him, I'll fuse with him. So he's not the major engine. The major engine is definitely gonna be your Shaddoll fusion. That's gonna be your starter. And for this particular deck, you want to go second. The deck struggles going first because you don't really have that many first turn plays. You are missing the links. So Alistair without like Amirage or without um, Armides, he's really weak. Like you summon him, there's not much you can do, and especially we're only playing a couple of lights. We're playing a total of like 3 different light sources, so not too much light. So you're not gonna ever really be able to do much with him. So the deck excels at going second. It's pretty weak going first. From what I noticed, it's good going first if you have like super poly or something to back it up with, or maybe if you can fuse into like a window immediately, then you might get some value. But otherwise, the deck is pretty weak going first. That's what the Destiny Fusion is here for. Also, is to help you if you do go first and you do draw the Destiny Fusion. That will help out a little bit there. Now we're playing triple tactics, just another way to draw cards and kind of punish our opponents for playing Max Seas and Ash Blossom on our turn, which happens a lot. So it's always a nice draw card, and it doesn't require any commitment. It's sometimes you can take control of an opponent's monster and OTK him with it, or if you have a bunch of cards in your hand, you don't need to. The first 2 effect, then you want to snipe a card from your opponent's hand. So yeah, all the effects on triple tactics is relevant. Super poly for sure. Call by Graves, great in general. Now droplet is if you have it, cool. If you don't have it, it's not really super necessary. So the idea behind droplet is if you summon Alistair and they activate like a negation or interruption, or they try to like effect veiler you, you can forbidden droplet, send the Alistair and still resolve your search. Or you can send like a dead, magic meltdown on your field, or whatever you need it to do. It also helps you OTK, so it's kind of there just for utility, honestly, and it's not a bad card in general. So yeah, the deck is pretty straightforward. You can change some of the numbers here and there. The extra deck, it's kind of tight, honestly, because you are playing like 3 different engines. You got your invokes, you got your super poly targets here, you got your Shaddoll targets here. You also have a couple of invoke targets for summoning. So yeah, the extra deck space can get kind of tight. I want to say this deck is primarily a Shaddoll deck with like 2 different engines in it. So try to get your window out and try to protect window. That's the name of the game. But yeah, other than that, we cut out all the Dogmatica stuff. None of it's gonna work with for this deck. So, and there's no other really good light engines to play in the deck. You can try like hand traps. You can try clown blade. You can maybe try stick chair. But I found that this is good enough. Your sources of light for Macabre is gonna come from your constructs and your opponent's graveyard. You're not gonna really. That's why Alistair is kind of weaker on the weaker side, because you don't have that many good source of light to fuse into a Macabre. So he's kind of like your backup plan. You don't really want to rely on him too much, but Alistair's still a good startup. Is still a good starter. If not, you could always summon her and grab your one Magistus here invocation. But yeah, outside of that, I don't think there's much else about the deck that I want to talk about. Other than a couple of different choices for Shaddolls and a couple of different choices for your extra deck. But it's a pretty solid deck. Right now, let me show you my win record, I guess, if that matters. Right now, I'm sitting around 35,000 gems, right? So I'm doing pretty well, and here's my match history. So I think I lost 2 recently, and the rest of it I've basically have won. So yeah, I'd say the deck is fairly good. You can easily break boards with this deck, and a lot of these matches I've chosen to go second, and I kind of just break board. If you do end up going first, depending on how your hand is, you can actually just pass turn. You don't really have to do too much. You play a lot of hand trap. So if your opponent forces you to go first, cool. If you can set up a board, cool. If not, sometimes I just normal some Alistair. I just leave him on the board, and maybe have like something to back him up with, like maybe a forbidden droplet, or if you have super poly to back him up with, that's the perfect ideal start. But ideally, you want to go second with this deck because going first kind of sucks. Because, like I said, you're missing a lot of your first turn power plays. So I highly recommend not going first with the deck. Going second if you can. Um, but yeah, that's really it. Not much else to say. The deck's just fun to play. If you want to take a look at the deck that I did build to play competitively, but I never got around to playing, it looks really similar. So it looks something like this. So this is the deck I built to actually physically competitively play, but I've never really gotten around to playing the deck. But this deck is basically similar. You got the Dogmatica engines, you got the Shaddolls, you got the Alsters, and then you got the DPE engine. So you know, you have your starter plays right here. You have your Predaplant. So this particular deck is more situated for going first and setting up a board and just forcing your opponent to kind of try to break your board, where the Fusion Festival version is definitely more of a go second and play reactively. So yeah, not much else to say about that. The only other thing I can say is, yeah, if you want more light sources, you can add a couple more lights. You can add Effect Veiler or more Nibiru if you have more copies of him. You can also add in Foolish Burial into the deck. I don't have Foolish Burial, so if you do, cool, go ahead and add it in. It would help a bit of the consistency for the deck. Yeah, Foolish Burial. It's an ultra rare, so you know I kind of limited on my ultra rare points right now. I kind of blew it on DPE and some of the cards needed to pilot DPE. But yeah, other staples you might want to try out is you have like Lightning Storms. Maybe you could try that out. You can try out Impermanence, pretty good. You can try out Solemn Judgment there. I think everything else is banned here. Yeah, you can also do Ghost Ogre if you got some Ghost Ogre. That'd be pretty good too. Even Droll and Lockbird. A lot of decks in the fusions, they tend to search out for fusion cards. So if they draw a card or something, or they search one thing, you can just Droll and Lockbird them, and that will force them to end their turn. So yeah, and you don't really have to worry about back row too much. There's not a lot of decks that are playing back row. They're just kind of just spamming a bunch of fusions onto the board. If not, you can also try my budget version of the Necros deck. I think that deck has carried me through all of the festivals so far. It carried me through Cinco Festival, carried me through the XYZ Festival, and you can technically play it for the Fusion Festival. It would be the same. But right now, I wanted to play Fusions since I haven't really gotten around to playing my Fusion cards a lot. So this is what I'm rocking right now. Anyways, that's really it. Hope you guys have a good one, and see you guys next time.